Hello everyone, welcome to another Chit Chat with Orly. So I wanted to talk about something today that I experienced recently, and it's one of those things that sometimes people have a difficult time dealing with, or at least I have in the past. So I had an exchange with someone, and looking back over the history of that working relationship, then I realized from the very beginning, then I agreed to things that at the time didn't seem like it was any significance to me, which it wasn't. However, I wasn't really paying attention to the underlying power play, the energy play. And so by me agreeing to something at the very beginning of that exchange with this person, down the road, then that gave this unspoken or gave that person the idea that they could just kind of do whatever they wanted. And then the time came when there was this line drawn in the sand of like, no, you're not going to do this. It's not applicable. It's not appropriate in the way you are interacting with me. And the person kind of flipped out. And so that whole exchange that I experienced with them created quite a bit of anger. And in looking at all this, then I had to step back and say, okay, I know that the anger is about my perception of things, and clearly there's something here that I'm not seeing, because right now all I want to do is just spew all this anger on this person and talk about how he's like not a very good person. So this morning, then I just had this aha of recognizing how way at the very, very beginning, at the very first conversations, then I had allowed this person to think that they could take licenses with things which they really couldn't. And so I had to sit back and look at that of, wow, this is how I agreed to do something, even though the thing in the moment didn't seem like it was significant at all, but the underlying power play I wasn't tuning into. And so I had to sit with how I had not managed my energy very well, which then gave the indication or the perception to the other person that they could do whatever they wanted. And so out of this, then I had to sit and look at a sense of forgiving and accepting myself, the part of me who allowed that to happen. Because when I could look at that and really embrace it and own it, then I can really look at that's where the true anger is coming from. Is angry about at myself, not so much about or towards this other person, even though the things that they did were really very inappropriate in how I manage my relationships, but I also had to own how I wasn't managing and being strong in the way I was doing my energy. So with that, then there's lessons here for me and for you too, possibly, of looking at how you are presenting yourself in the non-verbal way, in an energetic stance, how you're using your energy and managing it. And are you giving off these unspoken nonverbal signals that the other person can view you as a pushover, perhaps, because you're not really seeing the underlying dynamics of the energy play? And then that can set you up for things down the road that you may not like, and then rather than being angry at the other person, then can you look at you and see what you did in that situation to allow it to be in the first place? So I know with a lot of work, a lot of observations like that, then it's really looking at our shadow. And people can typically have a really difficult time looking at their shadows, understanding it, dealing with it, owning the fact that they made choices that down the road and led to them being mistreated or hurt. And so my invitation to you is to look at those things in your life where you've allowed yourself to be mistreated perhaps, or let another person kind of walk on you, where you haven't managed your energy tightly enough or set solid enough boundaries. That's kind of how we talk about it in terms of looking at of what's appropriate for other people to have, how they treat us. So look at that for you, and also look at the anger that you throw at the other person or at the situation, and how much of that is really anger towards you and what you did. Can you own that and embrace the part of you that made that decision, to allow things to happen that triggered that anger in the first place? Can you look at yourself and without judgment, and instead accepting and embracing and forgiving the part of you that made choices that may be coming from a place of weakness or lack of information or maturity? Because the longer we judge those pieces of ourselves and reject them, the harder it is for us to be able to make different choices down the road, and the harder it is for us to break those cycles and those deeply ingrained patterns and habits of behavior and how we interact with other people that lead us to those dissatisfactory ends in the first place. So that's my thought for you today. I know that's kind of a lot to consider, but really look at this, because it will give you a lot of information about how you do all kinds of relationships on any level, whether it's family, significant other, clients, work associates, all relationships. There's this power play, this dynamic of who shares the energy and who's like the top dog, so to speak. There's always that push and pull, and until we become conscious of that, then we can't really do much to adjust it and direct it in a way so it's win-win instead of win-lose. So look at that today, journal about it, make some comments about it below, and share with me what you find is difficult in embracing and accepting and forgiving parts of you. And if you'd like, I'd be happy to share some suggestions with how I have done it for myself, and the value and benefits that I've received by forgiving and accepting myself and things like that. All right. So I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.